All right, you ready for this? We're going deep today. Guardianship and adoption in the Philippines. Big topic, right? I know you're prepping for some major decisions and it sent me a stack of legal notes. So think of this as a crash course guardianship, appointing one, what they can and can't do, and even how it all wraps up. Oh, and we're going to tackle the big shift in adoption law too, from courts to this whole new national authority thing. Don't worry though, we'll cut through the legalese and get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Might even surprise you along the way.
You know, it always strikes me how guardianship, well, it's more than just like where a child lives, you know? It's really about stepping into a parent's shoes, legally speaking.
So it's more than just bedtime stories and tucking someone in. We're talking legal stuff, money, maybe even speaking for them in court. That's a lot.
Exactly. It's like becoming their legal parent, basically. And
Yeah.
it all ties back to this cool principle, parens patriae, parent of the nation, literally. It means the state, you know, they got to protect those who can't protect themselves. That's where guardianship comes in.
Parent of the nation, huh? Sounds pretty serious. But who exactly are we talking about here? I saw incompetence in these notes, and, well, it sounds a little harsh, to be honest.
Yeah, I get it. It does sound a bit strong. But legally, it has a very specific meaning. It's not meant to be insulting. Think of it as someone who can't handle their own affairs for whatever reason. Maybe they're facing some penalties that limit their rights, or they're hospitalized and can't make decisions. Could be someone with a disability that makes communication hard, or even someone who's, you know, easily taken advantage of. It's a wide range, but it's all about protection.
Okay, that makes more sense. So say someone does need a guardian. Where does all this legal action go down? Is it all dramatic courtrooms and gavels?
Not necessarily. It depends, actually. Like where the person lives and what kind of property they might have. For someone in the Philippines, it's usually their local regional trial court. But for non-residents, that's where it gets interesting. Say you have property here, but you live, I don't know, in Antarctica. The court where that property is handles the guardianship, but only for that property, not for you as a person.
Hold on. So if I've got a mango farm in Cebu, but I'm chilling in, like you said, Antarctica, the Cebu court handles things, but only for the mangoes, not for me. That's crazy.
Yep, exactly. And another thing with minors, it's family courts now. All about the right expertise, you know?
Makes sense. So we've got the where. Now, who can actually be the guardian? Is it just family, or can anyone volunteer?
Well, there are different types of guardians. Legal guardians, like parents. Then there are guardians ad litem appointed by the court for a specific case. And then judicial guardians, they handle everything, life and property.
So many guardians. Okay, what if someone wants to be a guardian? Do they need like a law degree or something?
Not really. Anyone can petition, from family to friends, even government agencies. The court just wants someone capable and trustworthy. But there's one catch. If the minor has more than P50,000 in assets, the guardian has to post a bond, a financial guarantee, you know?
Makes sense, got to protect those assets. But what if someone, with bad intentions tries to become guardian? What stops that?
Don't worry, there are safeguards. The law lists reasons to oppose a guardianship petition. The court, they investigate, make sure everything's legit. They're looking for red flags, conflicts of interest, anything that says, hey, this isn't right.
Okay, good to know. So let's say you become a guardian. What's it actually like? What can you do? What are you responsible for?
Well, it's more than just basic care. It's a lot. Managing finances, paying debts, even representing them in court. It's like being their financial advisor, lawyer, and caregiver all at once.
Wow, that's intense. Makes me think though, with all that power over someone's money, is there any oversight? Could a guardian just sell everything and, buy a yacht?
That's a good question. The law's got that covered. Selling property. It's allowed, but only with court approval, and it has to benefit the person they're caring for. And to prevent any funny business, the guardian can't buy that property themselves, even at an auction.
No yachts for guardians then. So guardianship can't last forever, right? How does it end?
Right. It's temporary, usually ends when they become an adult, pass away, or the court says, hey, they can handle things now. It's support until they don't need it anymore.
Got it. Well, what about those messy situations? What if a guardian isn't doing a good job or needs to step down? How does that work?
There's removal or resignation, but it's not a snap decision. The court has to make sure the person is still protected. If a guardian's messing up the finances or neglecting their duties or anything harmful, they can be removed.
Serious oversight then. Oh, one thing I noticed. Judges and court clerks can't be guardians. Why is that?
Conflicts of interest, Imagine a judge in a case where they're also the guardian of someone involved. That's just messy.
Yeah, I can see the problem there.
Yeah.
So that's the general guardianship stuff. But I know there are special rules for minors, right? What makes those different?
Yeah, in 2003, they brought in the RGM, the Rule on Guardianship of Minors. Big focus on best interests of the child. Every decision goes through that filter.
Makes sense? But how do courts decide when a parent maybe shouldn't be the guardian? Those must be hard calls.
Absolutely. The court looks at everything: neglect, abuse, addiction, if they're in prison, anything risky for the child. It's all about their safety and stability. They want guardians with good character, a safe home, no conflicts of interest, to protect the child's well-being.
Sounds like walking a tightrope, balancing parental rights and what's best for the kid.
Yeah.
It's definitely complicated.
It is. But the RGM helps make those tough decisions with the child's best interests at heart.
Well, we've covered a lot on guardianship today. It's clear it's all about protecting those who need it most. But now, let's switch gears. Adoption. And guess what? The law's got a whole makeover in the Philippines.
Absolutely. It's like Adoption 2.0. The Domestic Administrative Adoption and Alternative Child Care Act, RA 11642, changed everything.
Wait, no more dramatic courtroom battles for adoptions? Oh, just kidding. But really, what's this new law all about?
It's all about making adoption easier and faster. No more fighting in court. It's all administrative now. And the big player, the National Authority for Child Care, the NACC, they handle everything. Applications, matching kids with families, it's all there. Makes things way simpler.
That's a huge change. But what about those cases already in court? When this new law hit, were they just forgotten?
Nope. They got a choice: keep going the old way or switch to the NACC. Everyone got a chance to benefit.
Smart move.
Yeah.
So RA 11642, who can adopt now? Only Filipinos.
They're specific about it. Filipino citizens 25 or older got to have all their legal rights, good record, good character, be emotionally and psychologically ready to care for kids, and at least 16 years older than the child. But of course, there are exceptions.
Exceptions, my favorite word. Like what?
Well, if you're a former Filipino citizen living here again and want to adopt a relative, like cousins, you can ask for a waiver on the residency. Same for adopting your spouse's kid if they're Filipino, or if you're a married couple, one Filipino, and you both want to adopt a relative of the Filipino spouse.
Wow, they really thought of everything. So who can be adopted? Any limits there?
This is where the CDCLAA comes in the certification declaring a child legally available for adoption.
Whoa, that's a mouthful. How do you even say that?
CDLA.
Kudela, got it. But why is it so important?
It's basically the key to adoption. Says the child is legally free to be adopted. Could be kids whose parents gave up their rights, abandoned kids, orphans. But it also covers stepchildren being adopted by step-parents, and even adults if they were raised like a child by the family for at least 3 years before turning 18.
That's interesting. Seems like they're trying to help kids find good homes in all sorts of situations.
But it's not just the adopting parents who decide.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a solo mission. The law says several people need to consent. First off, the child themselves, if they're 10 or older.
Makes sense. What about the younger kids? Do they get a say?
Absolutely. No legal documents, but their opinions matter. Social workers and child advocates, they're trained to talk to younger kids, make sure they're heard.
Good. It's not just the adults making all the calls. So who else needs to give consent?
Well, if the biological parents are around, they need to agree. If not, then the legal guardian or the government agency caring for the child. Oh, and one more thing. If the adoptive parents already have kids over 10, those kids need to consent too.
So it's a whole family decision. Makes sense. Adding a new person affects everyone.
Exactly. It's about building a stable, loving home, and that means everyone's on board.
Okay, so we've talked about the happy side of adoption, families coming together. But what happens when it doesn't work out? Can you, undo an adoption?
Sadly, things don't always go perfectly. And yes, there's rescission, basically reversing it. But only the adopted person can start that process, and only in very specific, serious situations.
So the adoptive parents can't just change their minds.
Nope. The law makes it clear they're committed. They can disinherit an adopted child, but only in very specific cases the civil code lays out. It's complicated, and if you're thinking about adoption, you got to understand all the legal parts for you and the child.
That's good advice. Adoption isn't just about taking a child in, it's a real commitment to them.
You got it. It's a choice that needs careful thought, You're taking on a big responsibility.
This has been eye-opening. Guardianship, adoption, it's all about protecting people. But I always like to leave our listeners with something to think about.
I'm listening.
So this big shift from courtrooms to the NACC for adoptions sounds like a good thing. But I wonder, how does this affect social workers and child advocates? Their jobs must be changing, right?
That's a great question. It makes you think about the ripple effects. Social workers and child advocates, they're so important in adoption, making sure the child is protected. With this new system, they need to learn the new ropes, advocate within the new rules, and help families figure it all out.
Their work changes, but their commitment to children stays the same.
Absolutely. They're the champions for the kids, making sure this new system works the way it should, building strong families.
Okay, we've done a deep dive into guardianship and adoption in the Philippines. Lots of legal details, but ultimately, it's all about people.
It's been great talking about this with you. I hope our listeners feel more confident tackling these issues now.
And remember, this is just for information. If you need real legal advice, talk to the pros. But most importantly, stay curious.
Yeah, it's like the law is trying to think of everything, even the tough stuff. We talked about how the adopted person can, maybe reverse things in extreme cases, but what about the parents who adopted them? Do they get any similar options?
That's a good question. I mean, shouldn't it work both ways? If the adoptee can back out, can the parents too?
Not really. The law is pretty clear. Adoptive parents, they can't start that rescission thing. It's about them being committed, They do have the option to disinherit an adopted child, but only in very specific situations, the ones listed in the Civil Code. It's a whole other topic. But if you're seriously thinking about adoption, you got to get all the legal stuff straight for everyone involved.
That's a really important point. It's a reminder that adoption, it's more than just, welcoming a child into your home. It's a lifelong thing.
Exactly. It's a choice that needs a lot of thought and understanding of what you're taking on.
This deep dive, it's been quite a journey, huh?
Yeah.
Guardianship, adoption, all these laws, it can be a lot. But you know me, I always like to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay, hit me with it.
So we've been talking about this big change, right? Adoption's moving from courts to the NAZCC. Seems like a good thing, making it easier and faster. But I can't help but wonder, what does it mean for social workers and child advocates? Their jobs must be changing, right? How do they adapt to this whole new system?
That's a brilliant question. You're right, it makes you think about all the ripple effects. Social workers, child advocates, they're so vital in adoption. They're the ones making sure the child is protected through the whole process. Now, with this NACC system, their expertise is even more important. They have to master the new procedures, fight for the kids within these new rules, and help families figure it all out. It's a lot.
So their work changes, but their dedication to the children stays the same.
For sure. They're the ones on the front lines, making sure this new system works, that it truly helps build loving, strong families.
Wow, we've really dug deep into guardianship and adoption in the Philippines today. We've gone through all the legal stuff, but in the end, it's really all about people.
It's been great exploring all of this with you. I hope our listeners feel like they've got a better grasp of these issues now.
And don't forget, this is just for information. If you need real legal advice, talk to the experts. But most importantly, never lose your curiosity. It's amazing, right? All these laws, but in the end, it's all about families. And every family story is different.
You said it. It's like trying to navigate a maze sometimes.
And you need a good guide for that. Speaking of, I was thinking about something you mentioned earlier, how adoptive parents can't, undo the adoption like the adoptee can in some cases. Show you how serious it is, huh?
Yeah, adopting a child, it's not a decision to be made lightly. It's a real lifelong commitment, and the law recognizes that. It gives that power to reverse things solely to the person who is adopted.
Makes you think it's so much more than just signing papers. It's about creating a family, with all the ups and downs that come with it.
Exactly. It's about forming a connection that's meant to last. A bond built on love and trust and respect.
This deep dive, it's been a real journey. We've broken down the legal stuff, explored what it means to care for others, and hopefully given our listener a good starting point for their own journey.
It's been great chatting with you about all this. I hope our listener feels more prepared and informed now.
Absolutely. And just a reminder, this is all for information. If you need real legal help, definitely talk to a professional. But more importantly, keep asking questions. Stay curious out there.